In global industry, some names seem unshakable. Boeing is one of them. For decades, Boeing symbolized American ingenuity, connecting continents and carrying millions. But today, August 29, 2025, that symbol faces an unprecedented crisis. China, once Boeing's greatest growth market, has forced the company to halt all operations. This isn't just a business setback, it's a geopolitical earthquake. The foundation of US-China economic cooperation is crumbling, leaving uncertainty and risk for all. Boeing's story in China was once about ambition and partnership, a bridge between two worlds. Now that bridge is closed. Beijing's decision to expel Boeing raises profound questions for American companies and workers. Was this inevitable? What does it mean for US manufacturing and jobs? Tonight, we'll explore the events that led to this dramatic shutdown. We'll examine the immediate impact on Boeing, its employees, and the communities that depend on it. This is about more than airplanes. It's about power, politics, and the future of American industry. The consequences are only beginning to unfold. To grasp today's crisis, we must look back. Boeing's relationship with China began in 1972, after Nixon's historic visit. The company saw immense potential in a newly opened nation. Over decades, China became Boeing's top international customer as air travel boomed. By the 2020s, 1 in 4 Boeing jets was bound for China. This was more than sales. It was a deep, interconnected partnership. In 2017, Boeing opened its first overseas completion center in Zhoushan, deepening ties. American-made fuselages were finished by Chinese workers, symbolizing economic interdependence. But beneath the surface, tensions simmered, trade disputes, intellectual property concerns, and military rivalry. Boeing walked a tightrope between Beijing and Washington. For years, it managed the balance. Today, that act has failed, shaking the foundations of global trade. The fallout is just beginning. The announcement was swift and shocking. China's Ministry of Industry ordered a complete halt to Boeing's Zhoushan operations, citing national security and supply chain risks. All new Boeing deliveries to Chinese airlines are suspended indefinitely. Boeing's stock plunged, erasing billions in value. Beijing blames US tech export restrictions for undermining trust and safety. Chinese officials say, cooperation must be based on mutual respect. US actions forced our hand. In Washington, the response was outrage, accusations of economic warfare, and vows to defend American industry. The numbers are staggering. Boeing could lose over $100 billion in sales over the next decade. China was projected to buy 8,000 new planes worth $1.5 trillion. Boeing expected half. Now that future is gone. The Zhoushan facility sits idle, and dozens of completed planes await uncertain fates. This isn't just a lost market, it's a seismic shift in global aviation. The shockwaves are only starting. The world is watching. The shutdown's impact ripples far beyond Boeing's headquarters. Boeing anchors a vast US supply chain. Thousands of businesses, from jet engines to electronics, depend on it. In towns across America, a halt at Boeing threatens jobs and livelihoods. Imagine a small Ohio machine shop making bolts for the 737 MAX. 50 jobs now at risk. Multiply that by thousands, and the scale of economic pain becomes clear. In places like Everett, Washington, Boeing is the lifeblood of the community. When Boeing suffers, local economies, schools, and small businesses feel the pain. Real estate values drop, businesses lose customers, and uncertainty spreads. This crisis exposes the fragility of global supply chains built for efficiency, not resilience. A single political decision can disrupt entire industries. The Boeing shutdown is a harsh lesson in the risks of interdependence. Are the benefits of globalization worth the vulnerabilities? America must now reckon with that question. The news from Beijing ignited a political firestorm in Washington. Lawmakers from both parties condemned China's move, but split on solutions. Republicans demanded tough retaliation. Democrats urged a coordinated response with allies. The White House convened an emergency meeting. Options range from sanctions to new tariffs. Filing a WTO complaint is on the table, but seen as slow and ineffective. The administration faces pressure to act decisively, but every move carries risks. The Boeing crisis is now a central issue for the upcoming elections. Jobs, security, and global leadership are at stake. Calls to decouple from China grow louder. The debate over globalization versus economic nationalism is no longer theoretical. America must decide, retaliate, negotiate, or rethink its economic strategy. The stakes are high for workers, businesses, and the nation's future. The world is watching how the US will respond. The next steps could reshape global trade for years to come. The pressure is on. Boeing's shutdown in China is a global event. International airlines, markets, and governments scramble to assess the fallout. For Airbus, it's a short-term opportunity. Chinese airlines may turn to them. But Airbus also has major operations in China, and European leaders worry they could be next. The crisis forces Europe to choose align with the US or chart an independent path. Markets plunged, oil prices fell, and investors fled to safe havens. The fear gauge spiked, signaling global anxiety. The world may be splitting into two economic blocks, US-aligned and China-aligned. Companies are rethinking supply chains, considering moves to Vietnam, India, or Mexico. This costly friendshoring could reshape global business. The Boeing shutdown may be the tipping point for a fractured world economy. The era of seamless globalization is ending. To understand what's ahead, we turn to experts. Dr. Evelyn Reed says this was a calculated move. China is protecting its own aircraft maker, Comac. By pushing Boeing out, Beijing gives Comac a captive market. Dr. Marcus Thorne warns of recession. Boeing's loss is huge, but the ripple effects could stall global growth. If the US retaliates and China responds, a new trade war could erupt, bigger and more damaging than before. Technology is at the heart of this conflict. The US restricts tech exports, China strikes back. James Lewis calls it a tech war. Boeing is a pawn in a larger battle for technological dominance. Some experts expect tough negotiations, others fear we've crossed a point of no return. Dr. Reed predicts a new normal of sustained economic friction. Companies must adapt to a world where politics can override business at any moment. For Boeing, re-entering China looks nearly impossible. The company must rethink its global strategy. The rules of international business have changed. The future is uncertain. Beyond headlines, this crisis has a human cost. David Miller, a Boeing mechanic, says, "My whole life is tied up in this company. Now we're all just waiting to see if we'll have jobs." In Everett, local businesses like Maria Sanchez's diner are already hurting. Customers are anxious, spending less. When Boeing catches a cold, this whole town gets pneumonia, Maria says. American families in China are uprooted overnight. Sarah Jenkins, an engineer in Zhoushan, shares, "We thought we were building bridges. Now we're told to pack up and leave." Workers, small business owners, and families are caught in a conflict far beyond their control. Their futures hang in the balance, shaped by decisions in distant capitals. These stories reveal the true stakes. It's not just about corporations, but real people. Skilled workers, proud communities, and families now face deep uncertainty. Their resilience and anxieties are at the heart of this story. The burden of global competition falls hardest on them. As the world changes, they must find a way forward. Their voices remind us what's truly at stake. This is the human side of a geopolitical crisis. The US stands at a crossroads. Boeing's forced shutdown in China is a symbol of a changing world. The era of unfettered globalization is over. Economic interdependence is now a weapon. America must support affected workers and communities through benefits, retraining, and small business aid. But short-term fixes aren't enough. This crisis demands a long-term national strategy for economic resilience. We must invest in innovation, secure critical industries, and strengthen alliances. The goal isn't isolation, but building a reliable network of partners. Citizens must engage in the debate about America's economic future. The Boeing story is a warning. Change can come suddenly. Now is the time to rebuild on a foundation of innovation and strength. The path forward won't be easy, but it's necessary. The future of American manufacturing depends on it.